Last night I was watching the Bama Rush documentary on HBO Max. If you have Max, it will be great for you to watch it if you haven't seen it already. And I found it very interesting. For those of you who don't know what that is, the University of Alabama is very famous for their sororities and fraternities. And when girls are in the rush season, which is when the freshman class of new girls coming in are trying to get into one of the many sororities of the university. And of course, each girl has their preference of which one they would want to be admitted to, but it's up to the committee of each sorority to decide if they're going to admit the girls. So they go through this series of interviews and activities, and each time that they present themselves to the sorority that they would like to be a part of, they have to wear a nice outfit, a different outfit. You have to show that you have a sense of style, that you can put yourself together, make yourself look pretty, but not stand out too much. You don't want to be like everybody else, but don't be too different from everybody else. And so this seems to fascinate people every year. So every year during that season, the rush season, people go to TikTok particularly, and also Instagram, I believe, to see what the different girls who are rushing, what they are wearing. And the reason why I decided to talk about this today is because this is a topic that I was thinking about, and then coincidentally, I watched the documentary and it all came together. I'm talking about the whole concept of femininity as a performance. And the reason why I was thinking about this is because femininity has become kind of a hot topic in this era that we're living in, the era of the relationship guru podcasts. You have quite a few men and some women who have come out in the last couple of years who have started podcasts. And by the way, if your podcast is not streaming on an actual podcast app, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other application that streams podcasts, you don't have a podcast. You have a YouTube channel where you post yourself talking. There is a difference. This is not a podcast. I would love to have a podcast one day, but right now I have a YouTube channel where I talk. And so me holding a microphone wouldn't make a difference. This would still be a YouTube channel where I give my thoughts. But you have these guys who have started their little YouTube channels and they present themselves as these relationship gurus who are going to tell women how they should be, how they should behave, what they should be to attract the approval of men. And as you can imagine, if you know what I'm talking about, most of these little podcasts are just rife with misogynist, outdated, ridiculously misguided information from misogynist, outdated, and ridiculously misguided males. One of the things that has been really levied against what a lot of these males describe as modern women is the fact that modern women are not feminine enough. They're not feminine like our predecessors used to be. They're not soft-spoken. They're not stay-at-home moms and wives who dress modestly. And they're the reasons for all the problems that the modern man has today. Well, what can we say? Things have changed since the days of our grandmas and our great-grandmas. And obviously, we're living different lives from them. But I want to get out of that to get back to the topic at hand. A very controversial question that you can ask today is, what is a woman? I'm not going to get into the whole politics of gender identity. I think that is a topic that is way above my pay grade. But it seems to me that a lot of emphasis is being put on the outward presenting state of a woman to prove that she is a woman. And I can't help but think that maybe this is a pretty modern concept. The concept that in order to be perceived as a woman in society, you have to present yourself in certain ways. You have to be perceived as feminine. You have to present the trappings of what that femininity looks like. Long hair, makeup, pretty dresses, pink, the whole Barbie core thing has taken over. And so we as a society have decided that these are the hallmarks of what a woman really is. And if you're not presenting yourself in these ways, then we're not going to consider you to be a woman. But clearly, this wasn't always like this. Pink wasn't a color that in the old days, in the Bible days, was associated with femininity. I don't think so. And clothing is something that has changed over the years. I mean, men wearing pants is kind of a modern thing. Men used to walk around wearing long robes. And by the way, if we think about anatomy, pants are not the best thing for men to wear. Having the inseam between the legs, when a man sits down and things get tight and temperature rises, it's not good for a man's reproductive system. But because we have adopted wearing pants as a hallmark of masculinity, at least in the Western world and most of the parts of the world that the Western world has conquered, despite of the inconvenience and the discomfort and the potential detrimental effects it might have on male fertility, men continue to wear pants because it's more important for them to present themselves as a man than to be comfortable. And we can say the same thing about women. When I was watching the documentary, it was painful to listen to some of the girls, some of the things that they were saying about how they feel about themselves, because they all wanted to match that perfect little archetype of the woman that will be accepted into a sorority. And you heard them talking about things, as you can imagine, about weight, how they wish they were thinner, how they want to look perfect, and when you look at these girls, most of them were very skinny, but they were still concerned over the fact that they weren't skinny enough. A couple of them talked about developing eating disorders, having the perfect hair, and wearing the perfect clothes. And one by one, I think they all kind of came to the same conclusion that even though they are trying to fit in with these sororities led by other young women, and they want to be accepted by these young women, at the end of the day, the look that the sororities were looking for were the look that they knew would appeal to the young men in the fraternities. So it always ends up going back to the male gaze. I hate to use that term, it's so SJW, but let's just run with it. But it was this idea that everything a woman does, even when there isn't a man in the room, at the end of the day, it boils down to what would the men want me to look like. And like I said, this feels like a modern phenomena. I think about the women in ancient Africa. And Black women naturally, when our hair is not straightened out, for the most part, is of a very kinky texture. It shrinks very easily. It coils really tightly, so it doesn't cascade down our shoulders. But could anybody question the womanness of an ancient African woman? Nobody would even think to question that. Of course she's a woman. It's very clear when you look at her body, when you see what that body can do, that she is a naturally born biological female. And the trappings, the wearing of pink and the dresses, the frilly dresses and the long hair and the handbag and the earrings and the perfect little pearls, these are all things that came up afterwards as we became a society that wanted to draw very clear lines of distinction between who is a man and who is a woman. Not to mention that today's idea of what femininity is based mostly on a Western, aka European vision of what a woman should look like. And I wonder if, as we as a society continue to evolve and change and rewrite the rules of who are we, what are our roles based on our genders, I wonder if we're going to go back to a time when you didn't have to perform your femininity, where you didn't have to prove that you were a woman, where you could just show up as yourself, and those who know, and those who don't know are too dumb and need to learn. I wonder if we're ever gonna go back to that. Now, if you've been watching me and if you can see me right now, you can tell that I, like the overwhelming majority of women out there, I have conformed to society's rules of how a woman should present herself. And so this isn't me talking for myself, wanting to absolve myself of the burden that society says I have to carry to prove to the world that I am a woman. But I just think as the world begins to lift these unnecessary requirements from both genders, I think that something really good will emerge from that. Because these rules are very arbitrary. They are determined by the people in power at the time when they set the rules. And it's never okay when one group of people have that much power to determine how the other group of people must conduct themselves and who they should be and what they should even look like or sound like. So as much as I have conformed to the rules that society has put in place, I'm actually looking forward to the day when we start stripping away anything that is unnecessary, all the unnecessary rules, and we just get back to the basis or the basics of who we are as human beings. I think gender is a good thing. I think it's a beautiful thing to have the duality of the male and the female, the yin and the yang. I think it's really good to recognize that there are things in nature that are set in stone. But all the other stuff, all the fluff, all the veneers and the masks and the costumes that we cosplay in, they have caused a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort. And I look forward to the day when they lose their power and we get back to the basics of who we are as people. I think if that ever gets to happen, it will be quite the sight to see. But I'm going to pass this on to you. What do you think? Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Did you see the documentary? Let me know what your thoughts were on that. Are you somebody who is obsessed with Bama Rush and you go on TikTok to see what the girls are wearing? I just became aware of this thing just recently when Kimberly Nicole Foster talked about it. I really wasn't somebody who pays attention to that. So please leave a comment and let me know what you think. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see me talk more about different topics. I would really love for you to join our growing family. Also, leave a like if you enjoyed this. Share this with others if you'd like to have conversations like this with your friends. I wanted to bring this topic up because it's something that I have been ruminating about lately now that I've been doing this series on gender roles. And I'm kind of finding my groove in this topic because I find it extremely interesting. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye.